To Mindful Monday Yoga. I'm Kelly Villarreal. We have about 20 minutes together this morning for a gentle, accessible, slow flow practice. You may want a blanket, and I could recommend a couple of blocks this morning as well. If you don't have blocks, you could use like a thick book. You could use a water bottle, so anything you have for a little bit of extra support potentially underneath your hands. Once you have everything that you need, we're going to begin this morning on our backs. So you can find your way to any sort of comfortable reclining position. I'm just going to take a moment, move my screen over so you can get my whole mat in the frame. So you can find your way on your back and settle into any sort of comfortable position. So it might be fully reclined into Shavasana. It might be that you choose to let your feet stay planted, knees knocked together in center, or maybe your feet come to touch and your knees drop out wide. If you choose this option, I could recommend that you slide a block under the outside of both knees for a little bit of support. You can settle into a place that you feel comfortable. You might let your eyes close. And just take these first few moments to settle into your space, onto your mat, and into your body. You can feel the quality of the floor underneath you. And notice a couple breaths come in through your nose and back out. See if you could trace all of the sensations of your breath. Notice the way it feels when you breathe in and the way that it feels as you breathe out. Are there specific sensations you can connect to as part of your inhale? And can you identify some specific sensations that accompany your breath out? Remain here just a couple more rounds of breath. You could start to invite the breath, if you haven't already, down into the very lowest space of the belly. And from the low belly, breathe back out. The biggest breath you've taken yet today, breathe in. Maybe a moment to hold that breath at the top. A full, complete breath out. If you've landed in a position other than feet planted under your knees, you could start to find your way back to meet us, feet directly under your knees. And then you could wiggle your feet out just a little bit wider than your hips and let both of your knees drop over to the right side of your space in a wide twist. As you take this twist with your knees to the right, you might choose to extend your left arm on the floor or reach your left bicep alongside your left ears, a little more stretch through the side body. I'll take another breath here. And then let your knees start to track back through center and drop over to the left. We'll spend some time just working through all of the ranges of motion of the hips this morning, or whenever you happen to be taking the class. You can let your knees track back through center. We'll find a little bit of flow here. On your exhale, let your knees drop to the right. On your inhale, let knees travel through center. Exhale, drop both knees to the left. And do this one more time each side. Bring knees through center and to your right. Bring knees through center and to your left. You could pause center and gently draw both knees into the center of your chest. You might choose to be still here or put in a little bit of side-to-side movement across your low back. You could roll your feet out a couple of times, roll out around the ankle joint, flare out your toes, and then let them soften back together. If you're taking any sort of movement here, you start to let that movement settle back towards still. You keep a hold of your right knee and let your left foot plant on the floor in front of your left hip. So you take hands around the front of the right shin or anywhere that you can easily connect. Soften the backs of both shoulders toward the floor, and then start to let your right knee widen out toward your right armpit. As you do that, notice if you could bring the right hip a little more in line with the left. So when I do that, my right knee travels slightly out more to the right side of my space, and yours might too. You could let your left knee start to fall open a little bit to the left. So half butterfly-like shape just for a moment or two on the left leg. Let's breathe in, stay where you are. As you breathe out, let the body soften into these shapes. And start to travel your left knee back over your left ankle. Let the right ankle cross over the left thigh in a figure 4 shape. So you could stay here with your left foot planted on the mat and take a little side to side rock with the right shin. You might also choose to draw your left knee in toward the center of your chest and bring both hands behind the left thigh. If you're taking that option, you might again choose just a little bit of side to side movement. As we're here, you kind of feel into where your end ranges are right now this morning. What feels stretchy, what feels open, where there's sensation, and what that's all like. Let whatever movement you've taken start to settle. If you elevated your left foot from the floor, you'd set it back down, unhook your right foot from your left thigh and set the right foot in front of the right hip. Draw your left knee in toward the center of your chest, and then maybe widen it toward your armpit. So again, bring some length into the left side of the waist by pulling the left hip square in line with the right, and maybe the left knee angles slightly more to the left side of your space. You now let the right knee fall open toward the right side of your space. Notice when you do that, if there's a tendency in the outer right glute to fire on, then notice if you could let that soften a little bit. So soften the engagement of the outer right seat muscles. Just let the inner right thigh spill open. Be here for just a couple of breaths. You can begin to travel right knee back over right ankle, set your right foot on the floor, and then cross your left ankle over your right thigh in figure 4. So you can stay here with the right foot planted and choose to be stationary or put a little side to side rock in with the left shin. You choose to stay there or draw your right knee into the center of your chest and take a similar, just gentle move of the left shin, like you're rocking a baby, one direction and then the other. Let's stay about 3 more rounds of breath here. Choosing to move or be still as feels right in your body. If you've put in some movement, and start to let that settle towards stillness. And then uncross your left ankle from your right thigh. And pause here, both feet on the floor, let your knees knock together just for a moment. Maybe put your hands on your belly or somewhere along the front of the body and feel a breath come in. Feel a full breath move back out. And stack both of your feet right under your knees. Push into your feet, lift your hips away from the floor, bridge pose. This is the first time we visited here, it's still early in practice. We just let this be a soft bridge. You could lean a little bit of your body weight to the right and tuck your left shoulder under you, and then lean slightly to your left, tuck your right shoulder under you. Start to push into your heels and travel your heels energetically toward your shoulder blades. Notice if you could just gently engage a little more through the glutes, through the hamstrings, to open up through the front of the hips, right across the hip flexor. Stay, breathe in. Stay here, breathe out. It can be effortful and maybe a little soft. It's holding 2 things at the same time. Stay, breathe in. Stay, breathe out. And stay for 1 more round. As you exhale, let your hips lower back to the mat. You'd roll your way onto one side of your body. You'd pause on your side for a couple of rounds of breath. And then you could slowly push yourself up to a seat. This might be a good place to choose to sit on a blanket. I didn't grab one, but you might have one handy. So you can sit on a blanket, elevate your pelvis just slightly, and find your way into any sort of comfortable cross-legged position. That might be cross-legged like how I'm sitting. It could be that there's a different orientation that's comfortable for you. Find your way to a comfortable seat. As you arrive in a seat, draw your hands to prayer at the center of your heart. Take a breath in, a full breath out. And on your inhale, you reach both arms up overhead. Maybe like a full body stretch, the kind you might take in bed. And then let your arms travel to a T directly outside your shoulders. Let your palms come to touch in front of you. And as you do that with straight arms, let your spine round, chin toward your chest. You can start to gather your connected hands back toward heart center. Lift your chest toward your thumbs. On your inhale, reach up. On your exhale, float your arms open to a T. And then draw your straight arms together. Let your spine round. Draw your thumbs toward your chest. One more time through that. Reach up. Let your arms float out to a T. And then draw your straight arms together. Let your spine round. And then gather hands into the center of your heart. We'll reach both arms back up overhead again. And then let your left hand come down to the floor or to a block outside of your left hip. You reach up and overhead with the right arm. You reach your right fingertips to the left. You could explore bending and straightening the bottom elbow and just finding a spot that gives you the most access to push your right side ribs open toward the right side of your space. And then you might turn and look just slightly up under your right arm. On your next breath in, you sweep your arms back through center. Let the right hand set down outside the right hip and reach up and overhead with your left arm. You'd again explore bending and straightening your bottom elbow. And find a space that really gives you access to feel the left side of the body opening from your hip to your armpit. You might look now up under the left arm. Reach both arms up overhead on your inhale. Gather hands back into the center of your heart. From how you're seated, we're going to transition over to tabletop. So you can find your way, hands under your shoulders, knees under your hips. Here comes my dog, he loves yoga too. You can find your way to tabletop. And we'll settle in here. Feel your hands on the floor, feel your shins on the floor. You're also welcome to pop a blanket underneath your knees if that would give you a little more padding. Just start to find your way into a little bit of intuitive movement here. So that might mean that your hips wag from side to side or your shoulders shake. You might find your way right through some rounds of cat-cow on your inhale, letting your belly drop toward the floor. And on an exhale, rounding your spine, letting your chin roll toward your chest and tucking your tailbone. So whatever way you're choosing to move, whether it's just shifting around or through some spinal rolls or cat-cow, make sure that you're syncing up your movement with your breath. So one part of whatever way you're moving is an inhale. Another part of whatever way that you're moving is an exhale. Just feeling into all the spaces of your body. Find about 3 more rounds of breath in whatever way that you're choosing to move this morning. And then we'll begin to make our way back to a neutral spine position. From neutral spine, you'd pick up your right leg and extend it behind you, but keep your toes anchored to the floor. You'd come onto the tips of your right toes, and on an inhale, rock yourself forward so shoulders come ahead of the wrists. And then on your exhale, press yourself back, shoulders behind the wrists, and push the bottom of your right foot, your right heel toward the floor, and open up the back of the right leg. So start to make a little bit of flow here with the breath. On inhale, shift yourself forward. On exhale, rock the body back, draw right heel toward the floor. Do that just a couple more times. And then we'll pause back in neutral spine. From neutral spine, pick up your right leg about hip height. And then bend your right knee so that the bottom of your foot is now pointing up at the ceiling, about a 90-degree angle in the right leg. Take a strong push through the right heel till you feel that smile line where your thigh joins your butt, engage. And then turn your right knee open to the right. So that classic position of dog on hydrant. And then turn your right knee back toward the floor. So just rolling through a range of motion. Open the hip, open the right knee toward the right side of your space. And then turn your right knee, right hip back to close. Do that just once more. Open the right knee to the right. And then fan the right knee back closed toward the floor. Unbend the right knee, straighten your right leg. And then pick up your left fingertips. You might just come onto the tips of your left fingers, or you might reach your left hand for the front of your mat and kick more through the right heel. We'll stay here on an inhale. If you're reaching, reach long. Our hands are still connected to the floor. From wherever you are, you're going to draw your right knee toward the center of your chest. Let your head round toward your knee. So that might be an inhale reach, and an exhale elbow and knee touch. It might also just be that the leg is extending and your hands here on the floor for balance. You do that twice more in whatever permutation you're doing. And then hold. Let the right knee set in line with the left. Bring your left hand under your left shoulder. On your inhale, let your belly drop, cow pose. On your exhale, round your spine, push the floor away, cat. Do that one more time. Inhale, belly drops, look up. Exhale, push the floor away, round your spine. You can pick up your left leg, extend it behind you, toes connected to the floor. On your inhale, shift your body forward. On your exhale, rock your body back, draw the left heel down. You keep going. We're just about done with our time here. Breathe in, shift forward, breathe out, shift back. You start to make your way back to a neutral position, shoulders stacked over the wrists. Pick up your left leg hip height, bend your left knee, push your left heel toward the ceiling, catch that line where your thigh joins your butt, and then turn your left knee open and turn the left thigh back toward the floor. So do that again. Open up the left knee, left hip, close the left hip, turn it toward the floor. One more time. And then hold with your left hip facing the floor, straighten your left leg. Either reach the right hand for the top of the mat or lift your right fingertips. On your inhale, reach wherever you're connected or in space, and then draw your left knee toward the center of your chest, either connecting to the right elbow or just rounding your head. The inhale, reach long. Exhale, gather to center under your body. Inhale, reach. Exhale, squeeze. One last time, reach long. Squeeze in. Reach in opposite directions, hold. Set the left knee down. Set the right hand down. Inhale through cow. Exhale through cat. And come to neutral spine. Let your knees widen. Let your big toes come to touch. Child's pose. Let your hips rock back toward your heels. Let your hands settle toward the floor. Forehead toward the floor. Maybe all the way to the floor. And begin to slide your hands toward your knees. Let your spine round to an upright position. As you arrive upright, you reach both arms up overhead. Take hold of your left wrist with your right hand and just take a little lean over to your right. On your inhale, travel through center. Connect your left hand to your right wrist. Reach for the door, my door, to your left. And on your next breath in, come through center, let your hands release, reach up. You might look up and slightly back. And then gather your hands down to the center of your heart. And keep your hands here in prayer, in the gesture of Anjali Mudra. You let one hand set on your heart or a hand set on your belly. Or you rest both hands comfortably in your lap. You close your eyes, let your attention settle just for this last minute back inside. And watch your breath move. Anchor your awareness in your breath in, your breath out. As you take this next breath in, you hold that breath at the top. Find another sip of air. And then open your mouth, let your body deflate. Do that 2 more times. Breathe in through your nose. Sip in again. Open your mouth. If you're settled comfortably and you want to stay here with your attention inside for a few more minutes, you could do that. You could start to reopen your eyes, reorient your space. Thanks for joining me for this 20-minute slow flow practice on a Mindful Monday. Again, I'm Kelly Villarreal. If you want more practices like this or guided meditations, you can find me on Insight Timer on my website, Kelly, Kelly, yoga.com. You can also find details there about my upcoming retreat to Joshua Tree, California in January of 2024 with my dear friend Heather Kites. I look forward to seeing you. Drop in the comments practices that you'd like to see in the future and we'll make it happen. Thanks again for joining me live. Have a wonderful day.